It's a tool to make you perform better. That's what it is. It's nothing to be afraid of. You know, and a lot of it has to do with how we handle this thing. But at the end of the day, if you don't have a hopper that allows you to make forecasts, how are you going to do it? These territories are your own little businesses. You know, you can call yourself the CEO of your territory. That's exactly what you are. And basically what you're doing, hopefully on Friday or sometime during the week, you're looking at the next 2 weeks or the month or looking back, and you're making decisions about finding, winning, and keeping. It's that simple. You're dividing time up into 3 buckets. Now the keeping one, really kind of not so much in your control, only from the standpoint, you go back to your business plan, you've got those, you know, priority accounts you can't afford to lose because they're too big and important to you. You got to have a regular calendar plan to go back in there because we got to continue to sell our value in there and maintain our business. Because you know damn well our competition is in there trying to take it away from you. And don't think for 1 minute that our competition doesn't want our sales, and frankly, don't think they don't want your jobs. Don't think that. We're number 1. We're the top of the hill. You know what happens when you're at the top of the hill? Everyone is jealous and they want to come after you. It's that simple. You know, but it's a lot easier maintaining a position than it is, you know, trying to climb up the hill and knock them off. And we can't rest on our laurels. We got to be aspirational. So you got to go into those priority accounts. So that's taking some of your keeping time. You know, and then our competition, they're popping up in places, or we get a quality problem or whatever. So, you know, the keeping part, that's a little in flux, and it changes from month to month and week to week. So now you're sitting over here, and geez, how much time do I spend in the finding, do I spend in winning, or all that kind of stuff? Well, you know, if you look at some of our KPIs, if you're 75% of forecast, and your gap to growth target in your pipeline is 45%, I mean, logic would tell you that maybe you don't have enough plays in your playbook to win the game. And you maybe need to go spend 50% of your time out there finding, loading up some plays instead of winning. Because no matter how hard you try to win, you're never going to catch up. And there's nothing more evident than that than watching your hoppers right now in the second half of the year. And this tells you that this is a 12-month game, just like 4 quarters. Is that if you're behind forecast in June and your hopper's at 45%, you can stuff as many opportunities as you want into that hopper, and you probably won't get it up to 80%. Because the majority of those sales are coming next year. And Andy will talk about some changes, but come June and July of next year, you're going to start seeing your 2013 hoppers. You know, because right now, you can't see that hard work. When you sit down with the area manager, and he says, Jonathan, I think you need to spend some more time in finding, and you're doing lead generation, you're popping ops in there, and your gap to growth isn't closing at all, and you're getting frustrated, at least you can look at 2013, and frankly, you could be at 45% for the rest of the year, and next year, first quarter, you could be at 85%. You're doing everything we're asking you to do. Now, the other side of that is, if your gap to growth target is 200%, and you're 105% of forecast, I'd sit down with my manager and tell my manager, you know, I don't think I'm going to be doing any finding for the rest of the year. This is my chance to blow up my forecast. I got a very, very good hopper. I got all these opportunities in here. I'm closing. I'm closing as much as I can. You know, and if you're ahead of forecast and you got a weak hopper, there's a couple things that can be going on there. Number one is, and I've seen this, I've had some conversations with people. There are people out there in territories, they have one account, one huge account that's just blown their numbers away this year, and they're 110% of forecast. They have a lousy hopper, and they think they're doing a good job. You pull that one account out of their numbers, and they're actually below forecast. That's not a very good stool you want to be sitting on for the long term, is it? Because it's going to tip over at the end of the year very fast. The other thing is that maybe that person isn't putting all their opportunities in. I've had that. Told me, well, you know, I've been sitting on 5 or 6 of these big ones because I don't want to put them in there because St. Paul bothers me if I do and all that kind of stuff. You know, well, we're trying to control that. But I want you to know, you know, that the expectation is that any opportunity worth your time goes into Salesforce.com. There aren't any exceptions. I'm going to tell you right now, as we go through next year, you can either say the glass is half full or half empty. But opportunity pipeline management will affect your EC and DP and your leadership attributes going forward. It's going to be upfront about it. It's standard work. It's an expectation of every sales rep in the IMC. Now, it's going to make you a better salesperson. You know, then we started, we were thinking about this, you know, we were going to mandate activities start January 1. And I don't know if any of you participating in the pilot where the call-in to the CSR pilot? Probably not. No, there's a pilot going on. Actually, Patty Leslie came up with this idea, and it's a great idea. She goes, hey, I'm going to assign a couple of my CSRs over here to a couple of zones. And their whole job is to take the administrative burden off the sales reps. Okay. So if you come out of a call and you need samples, you call into this person, say, I need samples to go so-and-so, and they're sent out, and an email goes to them, tell them when they're coming. Now, there's a list of about 15 things they do. So, you know, we're looking at this thing, and we want to expand it, but Patty and her boss, Val, they got to justify resources. They need some more people if we're going to go nationwide in this thing, and it's got to be budgeted and all that stuff. Well, how do we justify it? Well, you know, Patty, you're truly here, came up with a great idea. Well, why don't we have these 4 zones start tracking their activities? You know, and then we can look at, and then we'll have some zones that aren't tracking in this thing, track it, we'll do a comparison, we'll look at the statistics, and we'll do it. You know, so we launched that. Now, you know, I expected there to be some tumbling, but I didn't expect a revolution, which is exactly what we had.
It's not actually called a revolution, it's called a rebellion.
Yeah, I think my name was probably used in vain quite a bit for 6 to 8 weeks. But, you know, interesting study in human nature, to say the least. You know, it was all Big Brother watching, this kind of stuff. You know, I'm an S4, I'm an S5, I don't have to do this, and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of cut it off, and there's some transactional process issues in doing it that we got to straighten out before we get there. And we got to get iPads in your hands. And we got to get this 360 software thing going. I mean, we got to make it easy for you. You know, and then part of this whole thing was, well, if we take this time off your hands, you can make 1 more sales call a week. That was kind of my idea too, bad idea. They all started coming back. You know, it's not about more calls, it's about higher quality. Every excuse under the sun about why we can't make more calls. You know. Then I kind of looked at it and figured, hey, you know, I'm kind of missing the boat here. Because who knows what our #1 KPI really is? Sales?
Oil?
It's winning. It's winning. That's what it's about. And at the end of the day, when I really thought about this, I could tell you, I could care less if you're selling more into existing accounts or selling into new accounts. I do care about that because you got to have a mix. But you know, it's not about quantity, and it's about quality. That's what it's about. But if you can make higher quality calls because you got more time to prepare and you can close faster and win more, we win. Interesting statistic from only one data point, but through the first 9 business days of November, I went into Salesforce.com and I pulled some data. 86% of the sales reps in the West region in the first 9 days of November put new opportunities into their pipeline. I'm sitting there going, hey, this isn't bad. First of all, it tells me 86% of the people actually went into Salesforce.com. I'm feeling pretty good about that. And I'll contend, if you really want to do it right, you should probably be in there about 3 times a week. So then I went to the wins, and I looked at the wins. This number kind of surprised me a little bit. 64% of the sales reps put wins in the first 9 days. Now, maybe some didn't put them in that should have or whatever. But on the pure face of the data, it told me that 36% of our sales force did not have a win in 9 days out of a 20-day billing cycle in November. Seems like a pretty high number, doesn't it? Now I'll go back to the excellence, aspirational thing again. I'll tell you right now, if you only have 4 wins a month, you're not cutting it. That isn't sales excellence, that isn't aspirational. But I'll tell you what is aspirational. If you're one of those people that have 4 wins a month right now, next year set a target of 6. If you're one of those reps next year that has 6 right now, set a target of 8. If you got 10, set a target of 12. That's aspirational. But I'm convinced that winning is our #1 KPI. The dollars will take them care of themselves, because in your hopper, you got different plays. You got the bomb, which is your $250,000 opportunity. You got your screenplay, which is your 15-yard. And you got your, fullback smash, which gets you, 2 yards down the line. You got to have all the plays in the playbook. And it's all about timing. One thing with the less experienced reps that I found out, they like working on the big ones. The only trouble is, June comes along, they haven't closed the big one yet. And they're saying it's coming, but when it comes in August, they only got 4 months of sales left going into the year. You really, again, it's your playbook, it's your opportunity hopper, and I'll contend that, in your business plan, we have the section, opportunities I'm going to close in the next 90 days. That's there for a reason. That should dictate your time and territory management for the quarter. Now that doesn't mean those are the only ops you're calling on, but that's got to drive the bulk of your activity, because you got some keeping going on over here. Usually there's a little finding going on, but you got to sit there and you got to win. But at the same time, there's ops in there that you got to bring along. You got to go schedule the demo. You got to get some samples in. So it's not all about those 15 ops. And I'll kind of go back to the activities now. Activities are your video. That's exactly what it is. They're your video. Activities and pipeline management allow you and your manager to sit down and have a true coaching experience that's going to help you be better. It's not about underperformance. It's not about big brothers watching. It's about, how do I improve? How do we survive? How do we succeed? Mary's got a great viewpoint on this. When she looks at INTB, she always goes, we want to be an accretive organization. And she forced me to go into the thesaurus and find another word, because I didn't know what the opposite of accretive was. I'll use it in a minute.
What does that mean? What kind of organization?
Accretive, that means, when Chris Holmes has his list of how the divisions are performing in the organizations, and let's say Chris's Holmes' average forecast for his big B is 6%. You got those above 6%, and you got those below 6%.
Yeah.
These are the accretive ones. These are decremental.
Oh.
Nicely done.
Now I'll tell you why that's important. Because when it comes time to adding resources or cutting resources, which ones do you think get